Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. I was talking to a friend the other day about kids and raising children and what that's like, and we were talking about all the crazy, silly things that our kids are doing. And she said to me, "Oh my God, I am raising a type A kid. It's terrible." And it made me really stop because I'm type A, right? And in case you couldn't tell, I'm type A. I've actually improved a lot since my high-risk pregnancy, actually, which is a whole other story. But especially before that, I was super type A. I'm still type A. Let's be honest. I'm still type A, right? But when I was growing up, I kept hearing about how horrible it is and how it's such a bad thing. Oh, you're type A. Oh, you're one of those. Oh, you're super uptight. Oh, you're one of those people, right? Like, it was a really bad thing to be type A. Now, if you're listening to this, you're not sure what I mean. There are these two major personality types, I guess, type A and type B, that we have been kind of talking about for decades and decades amongst the personality literature in psychology. And basically, type A is, if you Google it, they make type A people sound like horrible people to be around. Like, we're just the most uptight, terrible, like wound up, aggressive people. So let me just give you some examples instead of what these differences are, okay? Because I think it sounds much nicer this way and it's a little bit more relatable. So a type A person is more likely to have like a really clean email inbox every day, hitting inbox 0 maybe, which I'm so jealous of because I can never manage that, but I would love to. I aspire for that, right? Okay, here's my little type A coming out. Whereas a type B person, which is the other major personality type in this type of category, is more like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't need to be cleaned out. Like, I know where things are, and they're the people who have like 10,000 emails in their inbox just kind of sitting there and it doesn't bother them, right? Or a type A person is somebody who has crisp, organized to-do lists and checklists for everything, which, like, oh my gosh, hello. Who doesn't love that? I love checklists. They make me so happy. I actually, on my desk in my office, I have one of those like fabric bins filled with notepads and notebooks for my checklists, okay? So I'm going to be losing listeners left and right by admitting all these things. But okay, so to-do lists, very type A. More like having Post-its everywhere or notes on your hand or little things jammed in your pockets to remind you of stuff. That's more like type B. Going to the gym every single day at the same time versus I'll go when I can and I'll make it work. Having a set schedule every day that you follow versus a really fluid day of just kind of go when you need to go, where you need to go, as you need it. Being really busy and on the go with things to do and a packed schedule versus preferring to have a slower paced life and preferring to sit and chill. Or a type A person is more likely to be yelling at the TV during a game or a political speech or a movie, whereas a type B person's more likely to watch the movie just as a viewer and less as a participant. Type A people, we love to plan, and we do not like to play things by ear. Type B people go with the flow, right? So this is giving you some idea of what I mean by type A. And I guarantee you, if you are not one of these, if you are not a type A person, you certainly know somebody who is, right? And there's no judgment here. Like, the whole point that I'm telling you this is not to be like, oh gosh, look at us horrible type A people, or oh, look at those type B people who can't do anything, right? That's not at all what this is about. There's no one better than the other. It's just we're all different. We're built differently. And in this very generic, very vague description of personality types, type A or type B, it's just, we've got our strengths and we've got our weaknesses. Except for one distinct disadvantage that type A people have, which is that we are at higher risk of experiencing stress and stress-related health complications. Okay, that's just the truth. Now, what that means is basically for type A people, our baseline stress level is just higher. It's not that we get stressed more often necessarily. That could be true for some, but it's just that the baseline just is higher than our type B counterparts. It's basically like setting the thermostat in your house to kick off at a lower threshold. So like you're setting your thermostat at like 40 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 68. So that it takes less stress for us to be triggered or for our nervous systems to kick in. Okay, really basically put. What that also means is that type A women are at more risk of developing pregnancy complications because of it. And one of the things that I see all the time, two of the things that I see all the time with women who are type A, who I speak with, is high blood pressure and preterm contractions. Now, you might be wondering, well, is it because they're type A, or is it because they put themselves in situations that are conducive to developing those complications? Like maybe they don't follow activity restrictions enough, or maybe they're on edge, or they're worrying all the time. I mean, it's hard to really tease that apart to know for sure, but there's a huge connection. I mean, there's a huge connection with type A personality and heart disease. Okay, that's been proven for decades. And now what I'm saying is I'm seeing a connection with high-risk pregnancies too. Because there's something going on in the body, there's something going on in the mind, right? We're talking about both. That is impacting your pregnancy. And it's coming out in the form of pregnancy complications, right? Because pregnancy complications don't just come from a physical source. I've shared stories here on Delivering Miracles about my experience of how my contractions would be visibly worse when I was in the hospital and connected to monitors, visibly worse when I was more anxious, when I was more stressed out. And this I see with so many of the women that I talk to, same deal. And so then what do you do about it, right? Because it's not like you're going to change your personality type during your pregnancy. It's not like I can tell you if you're type A, well, just relax because, okay, let's be real. You're already hearing that plenty. And it doesn't work. The reality is we can't just relax. We can't just turn our minds off. We can't just stop. It's not who we are. Some of it is choice, sure. Some of it is choice, right? Like if you hate sitting down or not doing anything, but you're placed on bed rest, right? Some of it is choice. You've got to make a choice. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit in a bit about what to do about that. But here's the thing. You're not going to fundamentally change whether you're on bed rest or not, whether you have a high-risk pregnancy or not, whether you have pregnancy complications or not. So what do? What you do is you use your type A personality to your advantage to help you have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. And I'm going to share with you how. And to do that, I'm going to tell you the story of a client that I worked with. I'll call her Laura. I protect my client's privacy. That's something that's very, very important to me. So I'm using a pseudonym and I'm changing some of her identifying information to protect her identity, but otherwise everything about the story I'm about to tell you is true. So When I first met Laura, she scheduled a consultation with me because she was having preterm contractions. And she was in and out of the hospital. She wasn't even in her third trimester. She was like right in the middle of her second trimester. So this is really, really early to be having preterm contractions. Nobody wants to feel any kind of movement in your uterus that early in the pregnancy, right? And she noticed that when she was in the hospital, she was connected to the monitors. She also noticed that when she was stressing out, her contractions would spike. And she was stressing about everything, missing work and meeting deadlines. And did she call somebody to feed the dog? She couldn't remember. She was anxious about the baby. And then sometimes the stress was not from an emotional source, it was from a physical source because she was having a lot of back pain. And when her pain flared up, so did her stress, which meant so did her contractions. And it was just going up and down and up and down, and she was terrified and she was sick of it. So she contacted me and she literally had that attitude of, I'm sick of this and we need to fix it. That's what she told me on the phone. And I'll be honest with you, that's what really drew me to her, because I actually end up working with type A women all the time. And I love it, actually, because obviously I can relate being type A myself and knowing what it's like to be in such a helpless situation like a high-risk pregnancy. But also because these are the women who get tremendous results in my program because they're such action takers. They're not going to waste their time trying things or talking about it or thinking about it or planning it. No offense to my type B listeners here. Totally not, because I have seen some tremendous results with my type B clients as well. But the type A ones kind of come in with this like, let's do this. Give me a plan and let me go execute it. Which is also why my program is so short. Because I know that when you take the action, it really doesn't take that long to turn your pregnancy around, even if you're having multiple complications. So anyway, I loved that attitude. She was totally ready. She was a good fit for the program. And so we started working together. And our goal was, as it is with every client that I work with, it is not to lower her stress, even though I talk about stress a lot. But the goal is not to lower her stress. The goal is to keep her pregnant. And the way to do that is to stop her contractions. And the way to do that is, in addition to whatever her doctor's telling her to do, we're bringing her stress down because we have to calm her sympathetic nervous system down. We have to do that. There's no other way to fully throw everything at stopping preterm contractions, right? So that's what we did. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that happens when we work together, when I work with type A women, is that we run into a lot of perfection issues because type A people like to do things perfectly. So at the beginning, she had a really hard time with allowing herself to just try the exercises that I taught her, because she'd always come back and go, well, did I do it right? Am I doing it right? Is that enough? Is that the right way to do it? Did I mess up? Did I make a mistake? And then she gets stuck. And then she wouldn't do it because she was afraid of either making a mistake and doing it wrong, or she just gets so caught up in her head about doing it the right way that she'd kind of talk herself in circles and then she wouldn't do it. This happened for a few days. And, obviously my program is very high touch. So I'm in contact with my clients every single day, whether we have a session that day or not. And so it didn't go on for that long because, like I said, the program's short and I expect my clients to see really big results in a very short amount of time, which they usually do. And so here's what we did is, instead of focusing on how to do the exercises properly that were going to bring her sympathetic nervous system, her sympathetic nervous response, some systems response down, which would ultimately slow her contractions, which would ultimately help her stay pregnant. Instead of focusing on that, we actually reframed her exercises. We thought about it differently. We thought, okay, it's not about how you do the exercises. Let's just stop thinking about them for a second. And I asked her to focus on her number one goal. And I asked her, what is it that you want most above everything? And you can only pick one. Do not try to even squeeze a second one in there. Pick just one. What is it that you want most? And she didn't have to think for more than a few seconds. And she said, well, obviously, it's to keep my baby inside of me for as long as I can. And when she said that out loud, I could see the light kind of turn on in her head. And she said, oh, wow, okay, I guess. And she couldn't quite put it into words what that meant, but she was just kind of like, oh, wow, I guess that's what I should think about. Okay, I guess that's what I should focus on. And through our conversation that day, what she realized is she's very goal-oriented. Because being a type A person, that's how we are. We like to have a goal and we like to work towards it. And so we moved away from staying pregnant as long as possible, or reducing her preterm contractions, or even stress management, or even doing the exercise. We took all that away and we said, we have one goal here. What is your goal? And she said, it's to keep my baby in. And I said, how are you going to remind yourself of that goal every single day? And she had this genius idea, which I absolutely loved. And she said, I'm going to put it in my phone to pop up frequently throughout the day as a reminder on my phone so that I stay on track with it and I keep remembering that that's my goal. Because what was happening for her was this sense of perfection. Am I doing it enough? Am I doing it right? Am I breathing? Am I breathing often enough? Am I doing the exercises at the right time of day? And it was distracting her from her ultimate desire, which is to keep her baby in, right? So she put these pop-up reminders on her phone, and they would show up multiple times in the day, starting from when she woke up all the way through until she went to bed at night. Several times a day, that would be her reminder. And then once she did that, I gave her some additional exercises to do so that if she did get derailed, because let's be honest, she's not changing her personality type. It's not like that sense of perfectionism was disappearing overnight. That's not going to happen. So when she had those moments where she questioned whether she was doing it right, or whether it was the right time of day, or whether this is even the right way to do it, or anything like that, she'd see that pop-up come up on her phone and she'd go, oh, wait, okay, how I do it isn't as important as doing it in the first place, because my number one goal is to stay pregnant and is to keep my baby in. And that's what I'm going to go do right now. So you see what I'm saying? It's very, very goal-oriented. And that's what you need to do when you are type A. You're going to hear from tons of people, oh my gosh, let it go. Stop being a control freak. Stop trying to control everything. Just relax and let things happen. And that's not how you work. And you're going through so much as it is right now during your high-risk pregnancy that you don't need that added pressure and judgment to try to change yourself. That's crazy. You don't need that. Instead, use your type A personality to your advantage, and that way you can help yourself still have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. It's absolutely possible. I see it happen every day in my program with my clients and with all the women that I talk to. It's absolutely doable. And as a side note, looking for control is actually a really good thing when you have a high-risk pregnancy. It's actually really, really good. And I think that's part of another reason why I see my type A moms do so well, is because they're always searching for that control. And what that does is it protects you from the helplessness that you feel during a high-risk pregnancy, because it is one of the most helpless times of your life when you just feel like nothing you do matters and things just keep happening to you. But that constant search for control helps protect you from that helplessness, and it actually creates a barrier, a protective barrier around you from developing postpartum depression or even antepartum depression, which is depression during pregnancy. It is very protective. So that control, if you find people judging you for that, remind yourself, you're just using your type A personality to your advantage to help you have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. Okay? So what can you do, right? What can you do starting right now to use your type A personality to your advantage? What can you do starting immediately? Here are 3 ideas I have for you. Number 1 is I want you to make a to-do list of everything that you can do today or in the next hour, whatever you want. Now, don't put things on there that you need to do that you can't do. Okay? For example, if you're on bed rest and you need to run to the store to pick up a carton of milk, don't write that on your list because you're just torturing yourself. Because then you're going to see something that needs to be done, you can't do it, and then you're just going to be feeling awful for the rest of the day. It's going to be like mocking you on that sheet that you can't cross it off until somebody comes home or does it for you, right? So don't do that to yourself. It's not fair. Just set yourself up for success, okay? But for example, if you're on bed rest and you need to research on local hospitals where you're going to be delivering, or you need to buy your niece a birthday gift, write that stuff down that you actually can do that day. All right? And then take full pleasure in crossing things off as you do them. And let yourself do that. It is so important. I know you love lists. I love lists. I get it. Make the list appropriately for where you are and what you can do. Now, if you're on hospital bed rest, man, that is some cruel punishment, especially if you are type A. So my heart goes out to you for sure. But let's be honest, your list is going to look a little bit different. It might be something like take a shower, eat lunch, watch TV, watch a movie. Like, I've been there and I know how stupid that felt to monitor those things and even have that list, because I'm like, really, this is what I'm doing with my day? This is dumb. But it's important that you make it a big deal. Okay? Because your world has shrunk so much. And I get it. It's hard and it's not what you wanted. But everything that you're doing is making a tremendous difference. So even if you put on there, lie on your right side for 30 minutes because that's what your doctor told you to do, put that on your list. Great. And really own it and really be proud of what you're doing. This is not going to last forever. This is not defining who you are. Okay? But you're just using your strengths and your urge to make to-do lists and be in control. You're just doing it in a way that fits your lifestyle right now. Okay? So number 1, if you're type A and you want to know how to use it to your advantage, make a to-do list of everything you can do and leave off all the things that you actually can't do, even if they need to be done. That's for somebody else. It's not for you. Okay? Which leads me to number 2, which is always keep reminders of your ultimate goal, just like Laura did. Ask yourself right here, right now, what is the one thing that's most important to you? And I'm going to tell you, just like I told her, don't try to squeeze a second thing in there. Pick one. Because I can guarantee you it's not folding your laundry. I know that stack of laundry that's sitting there is bugging the hell out of you and it is just taunting you to get out of bed and fold it. I get it. It's not even doing everything yourself and not asking for help because, look, I know you have a compulsion to be independent and do it all on your own, but that's not your number 1 most important thing, is it? Is that really more important than your baby? No. Right? What's most important to you is staying pregnant. So let yourself be reminded of that every single day, multiple times a day, so you can stay on track. If you want to create those reminders on your phone, awesome. Send yourself reminder emails. No problem. If you want to put Post-its everywhere, do that. I mean, it doesn't matter how you remind yourself. Do it every day, multiple times a day. Because if you're type A, you're goal-oriented. And if you keep this as a daily goal, it will guide you on how to get through every single day. And you'll stop wondering whether you're doing the right thing or not, because it doesn't matter. If you're doing it and it's in line with that goal, it is always the right thing. And you know that. Being type A, you know that. That's how you work, right? You pick your goal, you do everything that's in line with that goal, and then you hit the goal. Same thing. Okay, so that's number 2. Always keep reminders of your ultimate goal. And number 3 is to plan out your day. Have structure. This is really good for you, especially if you're on bed rest, but even if you're not, it's super important for you to maintain your sanity and to create a sense of purpose in your life. And also for you to get that control, right? Because you create that structure, you plan out that day, you get to choose how the day goes. Now, again, I get it. If you have to fill it with things that you otherwise never would have filled it with, like movies and crocheting and whatever it is that you're having to do to fill your time right now that isn't in line with who you typically are, that's okay. Remember that what you're going through right now does not define you as who you are. Teaching yourself how to crochet doesn't suddenly make you a crocheter. But you're always going to be somebody who needs to be in control and have plans. So rely on that. Go with your gut, go with your strengths, and make a plan. And then stick to it because you're good at it. That is where you shine. So let yourself do that. Okay? So those are the 3 things that you can do immediately. You can make to-do lists of everything that you can do without adding things that you can't do, even if they need to be done. Number 2 is to remind yourself of your ultimate goal, that only one thing, nothing else. And number 3 is to plan out your day and create structure in your day and allow yourself to have a say and really make those conscious choices of how your day progresses. Okay? It's simple stuff. Right? Because we're not trying to change you. We're helping you to use your type A personality, because you are, to your advantage to help you have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. You're not going to have a personality makeover during your pregnancy. I wouldn't even recommend trying to do that, because that is going to add tremendous stress on you as it is. And right now that's the last thing that you need. So instead, embrace it and let yourself just be you, and let yourself be you while helping yourself have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. It's absolutely possible. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This was super fun to talk about because it really hits home for me. I know how hard it was to go through this when I was going through a high-risk pregnancy. And I really feel for those of you listening who are going through this too, because I remember it. It is completely counter to who you are as a person. And that adds extra challenges, but you absolutely can use your personality type to your advantage. And I hope you see that now. This was just a small peek of it, but I hope that you see now that it's absolutely possible. You don't need to change your whole life and become this Buddhist monk in like a Zen palace just to get through this. It's absolutely possible to still be type A and have a healthy high-risk pregnancy. So this was fun. This was really fun. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you could head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review so more and more women who are going through a high-risk pregnancy can tune into Delivering Miracles for inspiration and tips and motivation on how they can have a healthier high-risk pregnancy too. And if you are going through a high-risk pregnancy right now and you have complications and you're type A and you're ready to take back control, because that's a good thing, so you can help yourself stay pregnant as long as possible, because that's how you can give your baby a strong start to life, then I would love to invite you to schedule a complimentary consultation so we can talk about exactly what you need to do to have a healthier high-risk pregnancy, no matter how many complications you're going through. So you can schedule your free call by visiting my website at parijatdeshpande.com. And I would love to stay in touch. So follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All three of them have the same handle. It's Parijat Desh. That's PARIJATDESH. You're going through a high-risk pregnancy, which means now is not the time for a huge personality shift or the time to judge yourself for the personality that you have. You're type A. That's okay. Own it, embrace it, and use it to your advantage to help you get through this time. It is totally possible, and it's the easiest thing for you to do because you're already doing it. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.